pattern with 4 circles. Dear Monsieur Peru, I'm writing to thank you for the funds you sent. These funds will be crucial for the renovation of the western wing of the orphanage. The children you sent are doing marvelously well, and little Pierre will soon be walking. Some of them still sometimes suffer nightmares about their parents on the scaffold, but I expect they will cease in due course. Should you decide to send us more, please note that another 20 beds will soon be ready. The children and myself will never thank you enough. Long live the Republic. Long live France. Sister Marie-Hélène. I have no space left. I'll retrieve it later. I have no space left. I'll retrieve it later. Another painting on the Massacre of the Innocents? Nice decor for a revolutionary tribunal judge's room. The Massacre of the Innocents by Rubens. A bit gloomy. Guess my room is not that bad. The Massacre of the Innocents, but by Van Harlem. I think that Mortimer likes to play mind games with his guests. Great, honey.
Dear friend, please come and join us. We must meet about the ongoing operations in Paris. A boat will be waiting for you in Calais and will take you to Dover in England. From there, a carriage will take you to the port of Tintagel, where a frigate will be waiting for you and other guests, so you can meet up with me on my island as quickly as possible. I await your arrival. Lord William Mortimer.
Records of the police. Notes intended for the police lieutenant of Paris. It's a list of people under surveillance in Paris. And there's some well-known names on it. This is valuable information. This shouldn't be lying around.
All right. Have you finished?
Not quite. I'd like you to answer a few questions. I'd like to talk about the letter you're writing. What woman is it addressed to?
Who says it's a woman? I'm not saying any more. There's no point you insisting. All right. Have you finished?
Not quite. I'd like you to answer a few questions. Let's get right to it. Are you Elizabeth Adams' murderer?
That is for you to prove, if I'm not mistaken, boy. You weren't expecting me to do all the legwork for you, were you? Lazy man.
I know you were at the scene. We will save a lot of time if you just tell me what happened.
You know nothing at all.
Enlighten me then. For now, I have your footprint in a pool of blood.
That's right. The only thing you can prove is one of my boots was at the scene. Congratulations. You've wrapped up the investigation.
Dear Monsieur, I have no space left. I'll retrieve it later. Great, honey. Decorum guide. I've come to speak about the findings of the investigation, my lord.
I'm listening, Louis.
I believe I've identified the murderer.
Really, Louis? All right then. Please think carefully before you give me your answer. This is a very, very serious accusation.
From what I've found out, I believe that my mother is the culprit. Even though I find it hard to accept.
Sarah? But why her?
I found a piece of fabric that appears to have belonged to her and proves she was present at the scene of the crime.
Interesting. Anything else?
I found out that there was a long history between Elizabeth and my mother. She had been her personal doctor and had tortured her throughout her childhood.
And so she could have tried to silence Elizabeth so the truth wouldn't get out and damage her reputation. Well, it's possible. Have you anything else?
Elizabeth thought that Mother was going to kill her. Difficult to believe in a simple coincidence in light of recent events.
Indeed, it's uncanny. Anything else?
The print left on the knife near the body was left by a slender hand, without a doubt the hand of a woman.
And there aren't many female guests. I see. Anything else, Louis?
I think that there is more than enough evidence here.
Indeed, it's very worrying. Everything seems to indicate that your mother is responsible for Elizabeth's murder. Given the distinguished guests and the political issues involved at the conference, I trust you'll leave me to conclude the case in my own way.
Now that we've examined the question from all sides, maybe you could explain to me why you asked me here, my lord.
Right. It's time we spoke about your mother, Louis.
She seems to be making every effort to steer clear of your guests.
What do you mean?
For the past few weeks, my mother's been playing cat and mouse, if you will. I don't know why, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn that she's trying to avoid someone. The question is, who?
And in your opinion, would she be the cat or the mouse?
I'd like to answer the cat, but unfortunately I'm increasingly worried that she's in fact the mouse.
That doesn't make me feel any better, Louis.
What was the official reason why my mother came to your island?
I knew about your mother's activities and yours in the Golden Order. I thought we had everything to gain by working together.
You mean the canon deal with Monsieur Bonaparte?
Among others, yes. How did you hear about that?
Monsieur Bonaparte came to speak to me about it yesterday, during lunch.
I see. So impetuous. He was supposed to let me speak to you about it first. Our friend Napoleon desperately needed financial backing to properly equip his army. I took it upon myself to back him because I have a firm conviction that he can go far.
We shall see. However, there's one thing that surprises me. Did my mother intend to finance a war? I'm not sure that I follow.
No, your mother's aim was not so much to partake in a war, but rather to make Monsieur Bonaparte accountable. France is in turmoil, and having the support of a military man can often come in handy, Louis. You'll see. Once this deal was closed, I had big plans for Sarah.
Such as what?
You see, I've invited several influential figures on my island to present them with a project at the conference. It will be presented later today. I thought that the Golden Order had a role to play, and I still think so. I was hoping Sarah would be able to join us.
I see.
Indeed, if by chance your mother decided not to return to us before the conference, would you do me the great honor of attending? If only to follow the deliberations while waiting for her to duly take her seat.
Why not? We shall see.
Ah, thank you so much. In this way, you'll be able to keep your mother informed of what is said. There's something else I'd like to briefly go over. Earlier, you asked me the official reason for your mother's presence here. Is there an off-the-record reason why your mother came here?
She was looking for someone.
What do you mean?
In Paris, we were working on a smuggling case to do with occult objects. We had just arrested a dealer who intended to go to you to meet a buyer. My mother was here to find out to whom he intended to sell his stolen treasure.
Oh. What was the name of your dealer?
If I'm not mistaken, the dealer was called Von Brochet?
Name means nothing to me. There's something I still don't get. In your opinion, why would your mother remain in hiding over several weeks?
Maybe she found something out.
What do you mean?
My mother has a gift for investigating. If she had picked up a lead, nothing would have stopped her.
The only thing I can tell you is that Sarah had indeed changed. At the beginning of her stay here, we enjoyed spending time together, solving the world's problems.
Tell me about her disappearance.
Since she disappeared, your mother has been seen once. Her behavior on the evening of your arrival greatly surprised Gregory and myself. She resurfaced to attack Emma, Emily Hillsborough's twin sister. And she shot her with a pistol. Then, before Gregory could intervene, she ran off and disappeared again.
I beg your pardon? Hang on.
That means my vision on the wharf, it was actually happening inside the manor. Mother shot Emily's sister? The very person she came looking for? Why would she do that?
Excuse me, but between that and the childhood of Lady Adams, it's all a bit much for me to cope with. I need to piece it all together again to see things more clearly. You said that you spent a lot of time talking together at the beginning. What happened for that to change?
I'm afraid I haven't much to tell you. The more the days went by, the more she withdrew into herself. She never gave me an explanation, until the day came when she purely and simply disappeared.
Where did she go when she wanted to be alone?
She would shut herself away in a room we use as a box room upstairs.
Would you allow me to go there?
Naturally, Louis, of course. I'll send you a servant to open it.
Thank you.
That's all I can tell you about the disappearance of your mother, Louis. I would like to have been more helpful.
I shall stay on her trail and follow up any leads.
Thank you. We will meet later on to welcome our last guest. In the meantime, I shall get someone to open the box room upstairs for you.
Thank you.
The room is just opposite Mortimer's study. There are burnt papers in the chimney. There's a legible fragment left. Hey, I recognize my mother's handwriting. She says, we must find a safer way to communicate. Someone is on to us. Trust in my faith in the man with the sword. So Mother had an accomplice here. Who could it be? Who could she be suspicious of? I must find the next part. Faith, sword. I recognize her love of riddles there. Dante's Paradise. Raise your head and be reassured, for what comes up here from the mortal world must ripen in our rays. What is this disc? Oh, that reminds me of the ones my mother collects. It's magnetic. St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio. A fierce opponent of the first Christians, St. Paul is suddenly struck by the call of Jesus Christ and converts. It's the best known conversion in Christian history, which teaches us that even enemies of Christ can be saved, and even become his greatest apostles after finding faith. From what I can recall, the account of his conversion could be found in the epistles to the Galatians, the Philippians, the Corinthians, and the Acts of the Apostles. Caravaggio attained a magnificent command of black and the play of colors too. Paul facing an ordeal, the curtains of his illusions being raised, and receives the light from his Savior. The door appears to be locked on the other side. I think I heard something fall to the ground. A metallic sound, like a key falling to the floor. see if it works. It's open. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. No, what does that mean? A chest with the occult symbol representing air. A drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Reni. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel. The New Testament. A volume of the Gutenberg Bible. This book is incredibly precious. I believe this is the book my mother referred to when calling upon the Lord. And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Jew and chief of the priests which did so. St. John, painted by Guido Reni. Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Reni. A fragment of amber. Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. Looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. painting of St. Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Reni. It's St. John, painted by Guido Reni. A drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Reni. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven like a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. Then they suborned men, which said, "We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God." I guess I'll just come back later. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy. Oh, wait, a note from Mother is carefully folded between the pages here. What does it say? Dear E, I'm glad you found this note. I was afraid the code of the two groups of pilgrims would mislead you. Pick up the package. You know where, and hide it where no one will find it. It's imperative. Awaiting your reply, hidden behind the youngest apostle. What? The youngest apostle? What does Mother mean by that? Painting looks like it's been taken down recently. But wasn't my mother said that she would wait for an answer hidden behind the apostle? Ah, of course. There's something written behind the painting. On the second day, the pilgrims will listen to the prophecy of the young apostle. They shall add one companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their rank. What does it mean? St. John is the only apostle painted in this gallery who hasn't got a beard. Hey, wait! That means it's him. He's the youngest apostle. Right. This painting is therefore associated with the answer which E had to give to my mother. Now, I just need to know how to recover the answer.
should add a companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their ranks. I imagine it applies to their code, the one Mother set up with the pilgrims. What's this? A group of pilgrims who Paul was talking to, and now John is telling them prophecies? On the second day, the pilgrims listened to the prophecy of the young apostle. The prophecy of the young apostle, that was John. And the prophecy mentioned is most likely the book of Revelations according to St. John. I and my Father are one. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in Hebrew Golgotha. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. On the second day, the pilgrims will listen to the prophecy of the young apostle. They shall add 1 companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their rank. What does it mean? Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. Looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. A chest with the occult symbol representing air. And said, "For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh." On the second day, the pilgrims listened to the prophecy of the young apostle. The prophecy of the young apostle, that was John. And the prophecy mentioned is most likely the book of Revelations according to St. John. But he that hateth his brother is in darkness, and walketh in darkness, and knoweth not whither he goeth, because that darkness hath blinded his eyes. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Saying with a loud voice, Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power, and riches, and wisdom, and strength, and honor, and glory, and blessing. And a voice came out of the throne, saying, Praise our God, all ye his servants, and ye that fear him, both small and great. And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and a half a time, from the face of the serpent. Hey, a new note. It's been folded carefully in the corner of this page. The writing, it's not my mother's. S. I found the book in your effects. I've concealed it where no one can get their hands on it. I can assure you, awaiting your instructions, I will hear your reply like he who hears the angel. Hears the angel? What does that mean? Oh, it's probably the place where she was expecting to get the location of the next note. There's something else behind this painting. It says, half of each group will join the first city of Corinth. What the hell does that mean? A group of pilgrims, if I'm not mistaken, numbered respectively 12 and 14 in the last painting. With the simple operation suggested, that would mean that the new groups are 6 and 7. Take heed that ye practice your justice before men, to be seen differently by them. Otherwise, ye shall have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. I guess I'll just come back later.
A drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Reni. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel. There's something else behind this painting. It says, half of each group will join the first city of Corinth. What the hell does that mean? A group of pilgrims, if I'm not mistaken, numbered respectively 12 and 14 in the last painting. With the simple operation suggested, that would mean that the new groups are 6 and 7. Now, therefore, there is utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law with one another. Why do ye not rather suffer injustice? Why do ye not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Ah, look, here's a message. It is of paramount importance that no one finds it. Watch out for the Prussian. He's on the trail. Let's meet up. I'll leave it to you to organize the rendezvous. Not today. I'm unable to do it. In the meantime, I'll follow the first group to Mark, who will reveal the answer to them. And that first group of pilgrims, how many are there now? If I refer to the chapter I'm reading at the moment, 6. There's nothing worth noticing here. It's too cumbersome for me to unhook here, but judging by the dust, it hasn't been moved for months, if not years. There are finger marks, deliberately drawn in the dust. 8 in all. Little characters are engraved on the chest of drawers under the urn. It's a sentence in Hebrew. It says, "Count in the dust." All right, let's do it. No, nothing of value here. I guess I'll just come back later. There are finger marks, deliberately drawn in the dust. 8 in all. That's what the message in Hebrew spoke about. Hebrew 8. Little characters are engraved on the chest of drawers under the urn. It's a sentence in Hebrew. Choosing the Hebrew alphabet is no coincidence. It's got to be a reference to the Bible. But that which beareth thorns and briars is rejected, and is nigh unto cursing, whose end is to be burned. Here's a message. There are some complications. Indeed, the Prussian is insistent. What's happening at your end? Do you need help? If tonight is not possible, let's see tomorrow evening, in the South Room, where we reviewed the situation. When Paul understood that only the axe counted, he went back on his tracks. I await your confirmation to his left, in the company of the pilgrims that have joined him. Yeah, this last comment is about their code. I should find new pilgrims near Paul. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. Of the 4 apostles shown in this piece, Paul is the only one who isn't an evangelist. He is the 13th apostle. St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. I don't know, what does that mean?
I guess I'll just come back later.
St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio. This painting has been hanging here for a long time. A lot of dust is built up on it. Well, a finger has drawn a number in the thin layer of dust. I can read the number 4. St. Paul is the only saint to be presented twice in these paintings, contrary to the other apostles. How come?
Dear E, I'm glad you found this note. I was afraid the code of the two groups of pilgrims would mislead you. Pick up the package. You know where, and hide it where no one will find it. It's imperative. Awaiting your reply, hidden behind the youngest apostle. What? The youngest apostle? What does Mother mean by that?
St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. Of the four apostles shown in this piece, Paul is the only one who isn't an evangelist. He is the 13th apostle. St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio. This painting has been hanging here for a long time. A lot of dust is built up on it. Well, a finger has drawn a number in the thin layer of dust. I can read the number 4. I guess I'll just come back later. St. Paul painted by Guido. Of the four apostles shown in this piece, Paul is the only one who isn't an evangelist. He is the 13th apostle. St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio.
and he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they were made ready, he fell into a trance. Hey, there's a note here. A message from Mother in reply to E. We must leave urgently, but first I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare. Watch out for Volner. He figured out I was avoiding him. Allay suspicion. See you tomorrow evening. Stand ready. For now, let's cease all communication until we meet. Take care of yourself. I suppose this must be the last message. What happened afterward? If it's what I suspect, I fear the worst. What did Mother mean by, I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare? I must go beyond the nightmare. What does she mean by that? I'm guessing it's a metaphor. I need to figure out what this means. Mortimer's getting his guests together. I ought to join them so I don't look suspicious. It's time I went back and joined everyone in the small salon.
You are expected in the small salon, sir.
Emily, I must speak to you.
What's the matter, Louis? About last night, I'm guessing.
Sadly, no. Even if I'd like to have, alas, there are more pressing matters. I have news about your sister.
What have you found out?
Look, I've started piecing together the events leading up to my mother's disappearance and your sister's. Did my mother know about your secret?
Yes, even though I belong to the English chapter, her rank in the Order gives her access to a good deal of personal information.
It must have been Emma I saw in my vision.
I was given to understand that my mother and your sister bonded during their stay. I've got a question that might seem a little bit strange.
I'm listening.
If I said go beyond the nightmare, would that ring any bells?
No, means nothing to me. Do you mean literally or figuratively speaking?
It might be a place, I don't know where, but it's a lead.
You ought to ask His Eminence. He knows the house and its estate very well, being a frequent visitor here.
Thanks for the advice.
Should I speak to her about my vision? If what I saw is true, she might want to take revenge.
Emily, there's something else.
Go on then.
It's about your sister. I don't know what happened exactly, but it's possible that my mother had a go at her.
I know, Louis. I found out that same evening. Well, thanks for not trying to hide it.
What? Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't know if I could trust you. Now I know I can. It seems that your mother tricked Emma. She apparently asked her to hide an important book, so that even she wouldn't know where it was. And then she shot her like a dog to make sure no one would ever find it again.
Why would she do that?
I don't know, Louis, but I'll find out. You can count on that.
I'm sincerely sorry, Emily.
Thank you, Louis. You're very kind. It means a lot to me. But you do realize your mother will have to accept the consequences of her acts.
There must be an explanation, Emily.
That's what we shall see.
We'll speak about it later, somewhere safe.
Come, Louis. They're waiting for us.
You will pay dearly, Peru. I'm sure you were involved somewhere along the line.
That's right. Pretend you don't know. One piece of advice. Don't travel through France on your way back, or it'll cost you dearly.
Calm now, my friends. Let's calm down. Everyone seems to be a little unnecessarily heated. Don't forget where you are, please.
What's going on here exactly?
Sir Gregory called us together to introduce the last guest.
But hardly had we arrived when he set upon Monsieur Peru.
And who is this charming character?
Manuel Godoy, the Duke of La Alcudia.
He's the head of the Spanish government, Monsieur de Richet. He's the one who, in practice, controls Spain.
How could you dare do such a thing? Dios mío, you are all out of your minds!
Really, Duke Manuel? What made you kick up such a fuss?
What? Have you not heard? Well, let me inform you that yesterday morning at 10:22 a.m. precisely, in the middle of the Place de la Révolution in Paris, by decree of the National Convention which Monsieur Peru works for, King Louis was guillotined.
What?
Oh, no.
The King of France is dead, gentlemen. Our monarchies are in danger. I have said it before.
How dare they?
Oh, dear.
Oh, as if it...
Friends, let us calm down.
Don't pretend to be surprised. He got a fair trial.
Ridiculous! Bastard! He was sentenced to death by 361 votes to 360. You beheaded a king for one vote! Is that your democracy?
What an obnoxious act. Until this, anything was possible. This political coup will have grave consequences.
France is lost.
Gentlemen, please. Let us take a step back a moment.
In the name of holiness. He was the highest representative of God in France, Emily.
Gentlemen, Duchess, we're all among people of reputable company here. We should be able to manage the conflicts of our nations in a respectful and orderly manner.
I fully agree with you, sir.
But
That's enough, sir.
with whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
Louis Maras de Richer.
Are you related to Sarah de Richer?
Sarah is his mother, Duke. Gentlemen, this news affects us all, but I must ask you to remain calm. It's not the first time history has taken us by surprise. Let's ensure that our respective countries are allowed to respond appropriately to this news.
Oh, rest assured. The response will not fall short, my friend.
Good for you. Well, Your Grace, here I was preparing to introduce you as is proper, and you've beaten me to it. I'm delighted that we are all together at last. Our meeting will therefore be able to kick off shortly. I have just a few more little preparations to take care of before you all find out the reason for your presence here. In the meantime, I shall leave you to get to know one another. When you hear the bell, please proceed to the conclave room on my left, behind that door. I'll see you later.
Could you spare a moment, please, sir?
I'm glad you asked. I want to talk to you too. Of course.
I heard about your mother's disappearance.
He looks concerned. I don't know why, but I doubt it's from sympathy alone. Well, let's see what he wants from me.
Any news of her? Have you found her, maybe?
Hear you speak, it sounds like you and my mother were close.
Let's say I hold your mother in high esteem, yes. We were even planning to work together.
That's what he was getting at.
Did she tell you about our arrangement?
Absolutely, but I was hoping that you could tell me more about it.
Well, she was planning to sell me a very old book. I will make no secret of the fact that I am passionate about the subject. And when Sarah spoke to me about it, her account literally had me enthralled. I can think of nothing else since. You might have come across some old books in her belongings, perhaps?
As my mother's got so many old books, I'm afraid I won't be able to...
Oh, it's easy. You can't mistake this one. It's an ancient grimoire, composed of 7 parts. Each one is closed under lock and key. It was made in such a way that if someone tried to tamper with it, the sheets would be permanently tarnished. If you find it, you mustn't tamper with it. You see?
That's unusual. Unfortunately, that doesn't ring a bell. I'll look again, but I wouldn't get my hopes up. You seem very upset. Is it so important to you, this book?
Well, it's the search of a lifetime. What can I say? Every time I move closer to it, it seems to slip away at the last minute. I was very surprised to learn that your mother had it in her possession. I thought it was with a certain von Borchardt in Paris. Do you know him?
Indeed. One of your close friends?
No, not really, but we were close once. Precisely over the case that concerns us now, because he claimed to have the book I'm looking for.
Another dishonest person. What can you say? Can't trust anyone these days, huh?
No, you can't.
I hope I've been able to satisfy your curiosity, Mr. von Volner, and that you succeed in finding what you're looking for.
Oh, and so do I.
And now, what if you told me who you really are working for, instead of keeping up this pretense?
I beg your pardon?
We both know what you're looking for, von Volner. You're the one who von Borchardt was planning to sell it to.
For centuries, all those who have come into contact with the Al-Azif have bitterly regretted it, Monsieur de Richet. You are playing a dangerous game. Please know that I am working for someone who does not appreciate anyone poking around in his business.
Let me guess. Lord Mortimer.
Oh, you are way off the mark. There's nothing more for us to say. Goodbye.
A Greek drachma. One of the rare ancient coins to be mentioned both in the Bible and in the Quran. There's a pattern with 5 circles on this chest. I have no space left. I'll retrieve it later. I have no space left. I'll retrieve it later. Hey, these look like pages taken from an ancient encyclopedia. A ruble. Monsieur Bonaparte, may I speak with you a moment?
May we?
What do you think of Duke Godoy?
Well, I'd rather not express any opinion of him.
Why is that?
His reputation is enough for me.
Meaning?
This gentleman enjoys people talking about him for too many reasons. His undeserved titles, more than 10 in just 4 years, and each one more prestigious than the one before.
You don't think he deserves them?
If I had seen him on the battlefield, there might be some doubt. But that is not the case. The Queen would rather not risk losing him, so she consoles him with awards and titles.
So you don't have a very positive opinion?
His coveting French Catalonia does not encourage me to have one.
I understand your point of view. Does expression go beyond the nightmare mean anything to you at all?
Well, metaphorically, yes. It sums up the career of a soldier quite well. I doubt that is what you want to hear, though.
Indeed. That's surely not what I'm looking for.
Well, monsieur, if you are looking for a phrase book, Lord Mortimer must surely have one, given the number of books he has. You ought to check in the library of the tower. You never know.
Well, I'll be leaving you now. Shall we meet up again later?
Wait, monsieur. Any news of your mother?
Unfortunately not, no.
I hope to speak with her about my deal before I leave. Let me know if you find her. À plus tard, monsieur.
What can I do for you, sir? I am at your service, day and night, sir.
As I was unable to bring my personal effects with me, I was wondering if you could find me a few items.
Of course, sir. What would you require?
My good fellow, would you have any amber available?
I would, but unfortunately I don't think I am authorized to give it out, sir. I believe it is a precious stone.
I still haven't quite recovered after that boat crossing. Would you happen to have any devil's thorn by any chance?
I am sorry, sir, but the devil's thorn may be just a plant, but it is also a powerful psychotropic drug that causes undesirable diuretic effects. I would advise against sir taking any.
What's that book you're hiding in your jacket?
The Sorrows of Young Werther by Goethe, sir, and I am not hiding it.
Hand it to me, please.
It is damaged, sir. I would never dare lend sir a book in such a pitiful state, sir. I took it to restore.
What is outside on the island exactly?
Lord Mortimer has made a point of keeping the main part of the island in its natural state, sir. For security reasons, only the wharves and the gardens are accessible to guests. If sir would like to walk along the wharves, he has only to follow the pathway used upon his arrival. If he would like to walk in the interior gardens of the manor, I would advise sir to pass through the portrait gallery. May I help, sir, in any other way?
What's on the first floor?
The first floor is reserved for guests, sir. That is where sir will find his private rooms. The main corridor leads around the building. 3 stairways will enable sir to return to the ground floor. It is also from there that sir will be able to reach the second floor.
Thank you very much.
Anything else, sir?
Yes. What can I find on the second floor?
That floor is strictly reserved for Lord Mortimer, sir. In the west wing, on the second floor, are his private chambers. In the east wing are the rooms reserved for Lord Mortimer's personal guests. At the moment, these rooms are reserved for Sir Holmes, sir. But only authorized guests may access that area. Does sir have any more questions?
I would like to speak about your master, Lord Mortimer.
Do please excuse me, sir, but I shall make no comment about my master. Is there anything else that sir would like to know?
Mr. President, what do you think about your counterpart, Duke Manuel?
I'm very surprised he was able to accept Lord Mortimer's invitation, given the political situation in Spain.
I wonder what promise Lord Mortimer could have made to make him agree to come here, given the circumstances.
Who knows?
Mr. President, can you tell me a little more about the coming conference?
Of course, Louis. That's why we're here. Lord Mortimer or Sir Gregory regularly organize meetings like this to put forward major projects.
What do you mean by major projects?
I'd prefer to let Lord Mortimer explain that to you, Louis. Let's say he brings together influential people in order to consider possible actions to undertake to guarantee the future of nations.
Do you know the theme of the conference?
Not in the slightest. None of the guests know the theme before arriving. But you'll see, everything will turn out fine. Don't worry.
Go beyond the nightmare. Does this line remind you of anything in particular?
You've caught me unaware here, Louis. Let me think about it a second. No, nothing comes to mind. Sorry, Louis, but I am unable to help you.
Well, thank you for your time.
Don't mention it, my young friend. Regarding your question on the nightmare, don't hesitate to question the others about it. Maybe one of them knows more than I do.
That's a good idea. Thank you once again. I'll see you in a little bit. Discourse on the Method by Descartes. This book changed the way I looked at the world. Circe preparing wine. What better trap for Ulysses? This painting has caused some debate. Who did Dosi paint? Alcina the fairy or Circe the magician? A swine and a salon. That's an odd choice of decor.
Ah, Louis. Just the man. Good Lord. How did the king come to be executed? I would think that the order would have intervened.
Your Eminence, I'm sorry for King Louis, but he did everything to put himself there.
Louis, how can you say such a thing? Even if France rejects the church, you don't go and behead a person of high status. They always serve our cause better alive than dead. Politically, it's absurd.
I invite you to speak about it with my mother as soon as she reappears.
Is there any news of her?
Well, I hope it won't be long before I find her, Your Eminence.
Now you wanted to speak to me.
I was wondering what to think of that Manuel Godoy.
He is reputed to be a very ambitious character, at every level. But his faith is unwavering. He is a staunch defender of the church. You can believe me.
I'm sure a man like you is in the circle of trust. Would you know what the conference that Lord Mortimer mentioned is going to be about?
Not really, my son. Well, be it Lord Mortimer or Sir Gregory, we are never informed about the theme of the conference before it begins.
If I say the nightmare to you, does it make you think of anything?
Your question is strange, my son. Difficult to say. Could you at least tell me a little more about the context?
Think of a place and tell me the first thing that comes into your mind when I say the nightmare.
Let me think. I'd say Lord Mortimer's favorite painting on the wall behind his desk. You know, that painting caused quite a stir when it was exhibited. It is titled The Nightmare, and it shows a woman lying down with a creature sitting on her. And in the background, a horse. I don't know if it will be of any help, but I can't think of anything else.
You never know. Thank you for that, though, Your Eminence. I ought to go and see it just in case, though. Thank you for everything, Your Eminence. I shan't take up any more of your time.
You are welcome, my son. I will be seeing you, Louis.
The lock is surrounded by a triple circle.
Atrus, the Miller brothers. Mother expressly forbade me from reading it. Dining on ham. Well, that's very appetizing. Circe turning Ulysses' companions back into humans. Ulysses and Circe at the table. If I were you, Ulysses, I wouldn't drink the wine.
What do you want, Louis?
Emily, what can you tell me about the coming conference?
Sir Gregory and Lord Mortimer organize this kind of high society meeting every so often in order to consider the world situation.
But to what purpose?
Well, by bringing together the most influential people from the dominant nations of the modern world, they allow the mighty to discuss matters with calm clarity. There are precedents of armistices being signed at the end of these talks, you know. Talking while holding a glass of brandy makes things easier. You'll see.
What do you think of our last guest?
Well, I never thought I would get the chance to meet that Hispanic Casanova in the flesh. His reputation is well known. The gentleman collects lovers, including, would you believe it, the Queen of Spain.
The Queen of Spain likes to indiscreetly say, the King, Godoy, and myself make up the Holy Trinity. The people have appropriately renamed them the Goat, the Ruffian, and the Whore.
I didn't see you being a mudslinger in your idle hours, I must say.
I've already asked you, but I don't remember the answer. What did you say to me about going beyond the nightmare?
Good heavens, you're losing your memory. I haven't the least idea what it might mean.
Oh, all right. That's too bad. So, what did my mother mean by going beyond the nightmare? The Book of the Mortimer family. The Book of the Mortimer family. Le Coup de Lance by Paul Rubens. a book on the history of the Crusades. I don't think it has any connection with my research. It looks like a war painting. Oh, it's dated. A myna bird. That's what you generally feed birds. Might come in handy. A painting about a siege dated. A family ancestor, apparently. Let's take a closer look. Judging by the shape, I'd say they're Criollo cocoa beans, the chocolate of the Mayas, the rarest of the beans. Some even say they're an aphrodisiac. When a product is in fashion, people attribute all sorts of virtues to it, not to be given to animals. No, what have we got here? Well, it looks like a model of a lock. It's as if Mortimer is fond of complicating things sometimes. Well, I hope I never have to try and unlock it. A myna bird. Sarah de Riche? Waldo, you know Sarah? What? Repeat that, Waldo. Sarah? What about Sarah? Good God, what's been happening here? Well, Waldo, is your master good? I don't really know what I was expecting. The Nightmare painted by Fuseli in 1781. Ah, this must be what my mother was talking about. Now just need to find out what she meant by go beyond. Hey, looks like it's mounted on rails on each side. It should lift up, I think. There must be a mechanism somewhere. found it. Oh, what on earth is this? A ring lock now? Great. That's all I needed. This painting isn't finished. And it looks like Mortimer probably did it. Not bad, but you can't exactly say it's been done in the style of the period. Coup de Lance by Paul Rubens. Hey, there are two dates on this painting. 1154 AD and 5154 AL. History of the First Crusades by Pierre Amédée de la Salle. Hey, the dates indicate AL, and it looks like 4,000 years have been added to our calendar. Oh, that counting system again. The author is Pierre Amédée de la Salle, none other than the Grand Master of the Masonic Lodge of Paris. Now I understand why the dates are offset. He's using dates based on the Anno Lucis, year zero of the Masonic calendar, by adding 4,000 years to the Gregorian calendar. But I thought that calendar starts in March. The Crusades took place not long after the year 1000. Here all the dates say 5,000 and something. I'm guessing this dating system begins 4,000 years before the calendar that we use. Yet, I'm getting the feeling that there's something else, another small detail, but what is it? The famous call of Pope Urban II. 20 years after the capture of Jerusalem from the Arabs by the Turks, Urban II convened the council. He promises a plenary indulgence to Christians who go and get Jerusalem back from the Turks. The result, the Jewish community on the road to Jerusalem found itself persecuted for no reason. 12,000 Jews would perish, not to mention the massacre of Ma'ara, where acts of cannibalism by Frankish crusaders were reported, or even the capture of Jerusalem, where approximately 30,000 were left dead. It signaled the beginning of centuries of wars of religion. Coup de Lance by Paul Rubens. William Alexander Mortimer I, the 12th month of Anno Lucis, 5190. That's a funny date. The date's calculated in Anno Lucis. 12th month is February? So that makes it February 1191. complex mechanism. Looks like the third ring is a bit seized up. It gets stuck on number 9. Open sesame. Let's see what you've been hiding, Lord Murderer.